Ramanujadayapatram Jnanavairagyabhushanam Srimadvenkatanathaaryam Vande Vedantadeshikam Lakshminatha Samarambham Nathaya Munamadhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guruparamparam Yo Nityam Achyuta Padambuja Yugmarukma Vyamohata Staditarani Trinayamene Asmadguror Bhagavatosya Dayaika Sindhoho Ramanujasya Charanau Sharanam Prapadye Mata Pita Yuvatayastanaya Vibhutis Sarvam Yadeva Niyamena Madanvayanam Adyasya Kulapater Vakulabhiramam Srimat Tadangri Yugalam Pranamami Murdhana Bhutam Sarascha Mahadahvaya Bhattanatha Sri Bhaktisara Kulashekara Yogi Vahan Bhaktangri Renu Parakala Yatindra Mishran Srimat Parankushamunim Pranatosmi Nityam Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Vyasam Vasishtha Naptaram Shaktef Pautram Akalmasham Parasharatmajam Vande Shukatatam Taponidhim Vyasaya Vishnurupaya Vyasarupaya Vishnave Namo Vaif Brahmanidhaye Vasishtaya Namo Namaha Achaturvadanor Brahma Dvibahur Aparoharihi Aphala Rochana Shambhu Bhagavan Badarayanaha Parasharya Vachasudham Sumanasaha Dugdhabdi Madhyodritam Samsaragni Vidipana Vyapakata Pranatma Sanjeevani Purvacharya Surakshitam Bahumatim Vyaghata Durasthitam Anitam Tu Nijaksharaihi Sumanasaha Bhaumaf Pibantvan Vaham Nigamakalpataroho Galitam Phalam Shukamukat Amritadrava Sanyutam Pibata Bhagavata Rasamalayam Muhuraho Rasikaha Bhuvi Bhavukaha Yogindranam Twadangeshvadhika Sumadhuram Mukti Bhajam Nivaso Bhaktanam Kama Varshadhyutaruki Salayam Nathate Padamulam Nityam Chittassthitam Me Pavanapurapate Krishna Karunya Sindho Krishna Karunya Sindho Hritva Nisheshatapan Pradishatu Paramananda Sandoha Lakshmi Ajñatva Te Mahatvam Yadiha Nigaditam Vishwanatha Kshametha Stotram Chaitat Sahastrottaram Adhikataram Tvatprasadaya Bhuyad Vedha Narayaniyam Shrutishu Chajanushasthutyata Varnanena Sphitam Leelavatarayir Idamida Kurutam Ayurarogya Saukhyam Janaki Kanta Smaranam Gopika Jivana Smaranam. With the abundant grace of Paramatma, the benign blessings of the Arvas and the Acharyas, I am blessed to be part of this Srimad Bhagavata Saptaham series organized by Sri Vedanta Sabha. This set of 7 days were completely utilized by Shuka Brahmam, the celebrated son to a celebrated father, in delineating the Vaibhavam, the Mahatmyam, the significance, the greatness of the Lord, His creation, and His avatarams as Srimad Bhagavata Mahapuranam for a series of 7 days. The difference between the Saptaham heard by Parikshit and being heard by all of you is this. That was 24 cross 7. There was no gap. Here we are at least getting 24 hours gap. So that way I am saved, you are all the more saved. So in Purva Charithram, in the Shravana Yajnam of Purva Charithram, we got to experience the circumstances that led to Parikshit questioning Shuka Brahmam and Shuka Brahmam answering them all. This has come to us in the form of beautiful 12 skandams, many adhyayams in them, many thousands of shlokas in them. In that we towards the end, we discussed Shri Varahavatam. Purvam Varaha Vapusha Purushottamena Pritena Bhogi Sadane Samudikshitayaha Patalataf Pralayavari Dhayastavasan Udvaha Mangala Videhe Uchita Mridangaha, says the celebrated Acharya Swami Vedanta Deshika in Bhustuti. That said, I also tried giving an interpretation to Sri Varahavataram where I said that a certain portion of the land was submerged and the Lord incarnated as Bhuvaraha to rescue that part of the submerged earth. Even if a little portion of the earth was submerged, it literally means the Bhumi is submerged. Because that is the way we speak. This was my interpretation. While I mentioned this in another city in the US, one devotee came up to me and said, why can't we take the pramanam as is? If the earth is submerged, if it is mentioned as the earth was submerged in the oceanic waters in the Puranam, why can't we take it as is? Aren't rishis greater than us? Absolutely greater. They were all intellects par excellence. But there is a rule which Ramanujacharya beautifully states in Sri Bhashyam. If there is a conflict of our understanding between Pratyaksham and Shabda Pramanam, we need to interpret Shabdam based on Pratyaksham is the rule. So based on this rule was my interpretation, one. Second thing, whatever is beyond our logical realm of understanding, we should attribute that to Paramatma. If we start taking credit for that, for example, if the Lord lifted the mountain, yes, he has to do something which we primitive mortals can't do. But if primitive mortals also start lifting mountain, now after hearing Govardhana Parvata Sambhavam, the person inside our house states, I lifted one mountain yesterday, he lifted the other mountain yesterday, that is wrong. So such attributes can be given only to Paramatma. So Jivatma cannot take credit for it, is a basic rule. Now there is a mention yesterday that I made, around 8:20 I should have made. When Swayambhuva went along with the other celestials, Devas, in the presence of Brahma, it is said from Brahma's nostril a wild boar emerged. There is one reason offered by Vedanta Deshika as to why he emerged from the nose. He says, Bhuteshu yat tvad abhimana vishesha patram posham tadeva bhajatiti vibhavayantaha bhutam prabhuta guna panchakam adyameva prayo nidarshatataya pratipadayanti. So while discussing the Srishtikramam, we talk of Panchabhutas. We say Akashad Vayuhu Vayor Agnihi Agner Apaha Adbhyav Prithvi. This is the kramam in which we say the elements were born and then we attribute them to quadruplification. It is called as Panchikarana Prakriya. We divide 50% of every element into 4, which is 12.5, 12.5, 12.5, 12.5. And then we mix the Panchabhutas. It is called Panchikaranam. Every Panchabhuta has a USP in it. It is called Tanmatram. So Akasham, what is Akash? Is it? Sky. Okay. Now, today I will tell you the correct answer. Tomorrow I will ask the same question. Akasham means space. All this is Akasham. This is all Akasham. You may say, no, there is air. Air has pervaded the space. Because there are places beyond the atmospheric realm where there is no air, but there is still space. So air has pervaded the space. So this is called Akasham. So Akasham is space. Akashad Vayuhu. From Akasham comes Vayu, air. Vayor Agnihi. From Vayu comes fire. Agner Apaha. From that comes water. Adbhyav Prithvi. From that comes Prithvi, which is earth, the earth that we see. This is what the statement reads. But how do we bring that to our logical understanding of creation? Akasham has the USP of Shabdam, sound. So Akasham's attribute is sound. How do you perceive sound? through ear. From Akasham comes Vayu. Vayu's USP is Sparsham. How do you sense Sparsham? Through skin. Vayor Agnihi. Agni's USP is form. That is why you say forest fires here. Because you know where it is. You can see. So the moment you can see, it is Rupam. How do you see? Through eyes. Then comes water. Water's USP is Ruchi. Taste. How do you sense taste? With your tongue. Finally comes Prithu. Prithu's USP or Tanmatram is smell. Smell is Gandham. How do you sense smell? With your nose. Gandhavati Prithu, says Vedam. The smell of the earth. Bharati Raja has also acknowledged this. He says Manvasanai. So, Man, Prithvi has smell. You perceive smell through your nose. What is the problem statement? Earth is submerged. Earth is suffering. So, in that case, earth has essentially lost its ability of having the USP, which is smell. So, to give a solution to the problem statement, something has to come from the nose. Because during COVID, one of the symptoms was you can't smell. Correct? Either the food is not worth the smell or you can't smell. Whichever is the case, that was a major attribute. So how do you smell? Through nose. So the solution has to come from the nose. If Bhumi is suffering, the solution has to come from the nose. Solution was Varaha, so he emerged from the nose. So that is the answer given. Now, nevertheless, now after Varaha rescued Mother Earth and managed to annihilate the person who caused such a collateral damage to Mother Earth, which is Hiranyaksha, that is when Varaha Puranam states that she had some questions. Bhumi Devi is said to have asked some questions. Those questions were very simple. There is a Nyayam called Tat Kratu Nyayam. This Nyayam I shall invoke today. I shall also invoke on day 5 at about 7 p.m. I will invoke this Nyayam. Tatkratu Nyayam has been delineated by Krishna in Gita as well. He states, while the Jivatma is exiting the body, the mind will be remembering either an object or somebody, someone or something. Whatever the mind thinks at the moment when the Jivatma is about to exit, the Jivatma shall become that, is the rule. It's called Tat Kratu Nyayam. So Bhuma Devi had a simple question. She said, if you keep telling that you shall think of something and you'll become that in the last minute, we do not know how the last minute will be. Poor Jivatmas, they are taking so much of pain to tell Saptaham, here Saptaham. In the last minute, if they think of something, you are thinking of a deer or you are thinking of a tiger, then you will be born somewhere in Masai Mara. We don't know. Or Yellowstone. So is this right, she asked. That is when Varaha gives a exception. He says, if the Jivatma has surrendered to me during the lifetime, then even if the Jivatma doesn't manage to think about me, I shall grant the Jivatma moksham. If the Jivatma has surrendered. So these two statements given by Varaha is called as Varaha Charama Shlokam. These two shlokas are not found in Bhagavatam. They are found in Varaha Puranam. So I shall recite those two verses. You will just repeat after me and then I'll go to the next verse. You can, and one more request, if you want to audio record the lectures on your mobile, you are free to record. There is no copyright issue. You can record. Sthite manasi suswasthe. There is a beautiful ragam in Sanatana Dharma, in Shastriya Sangeetam called Amrita Varshini. Ananda Amruta Karshini, Amruta Varshini, Haradi Pujite Shive Bhavani, Ananda Amruta Beautiful ragam, Amrita Varshini. So, while you recite Sanskrit shlokas, there should be Amrita Varshanam, which means the t-shirt opposite your person should become wet. So, the tha, dha, pa matters. Sthite manasi susvasthe. Sharire sati yo naraha. Dhatu samye sthite smarta. Vishwarupam cha mam ajam. Tatastham mriyamanam tu. Kashtapashana sannibham. Aham smarami madbhaktam. Nayami paramam gatim. These two shlokas are very important in Vedanta. It is called Varaha Charama Shlokam. There is an exquisite commentary on these shlokas called Rahasya Shikhamani. That's it. Now we have to go. You know, who said that? Miles to go before I sleep. I've got miles to go. There was a Manu called Swayambhuva Manu. He had 3 daughters and 2 sons. We will keep revisiting his family every now and then. One of the daughters was called Devahuti. Now the father was worried. He asked his daughter, have you found someone? Or should I find someone? Should I put an ad for you? 5 feet 7 inches, ragi complexion, clean habits, vegetarian only. Should I put all this advertisement or have you found one? She said, I will give the choice to my father. Then he asked, when do you want? She said, I have to first settle down. Then I will choose when to get married. So he said, okay, fine. Have you settled down? Whom do you want? She said, whomever you choose. See, this is a very tricky scenario. I'm sure there are people across generations sitting here. There are many case scenarios in the same hall where there would have been marriages where you wouldn't have even had the courtship period. They'll just show this is the boy, tomorrow is the marriage, like Rukmani's initial vivaham with Shishupala, and then you will have to marry. But there would have been scenarios where you would have known each other. So we have had both scenarios in Sanatana Dharma. We have Gandharva Vivaham, we have Brahma Vivaham, Rakshasa Vivaham, Paishacha Vivaham. We have all forms of marriages. But here, this is one method. That is why people should not think that Sanatana Dharma restricts itself. There are all kinds of marriages. When we come to Rukmini Kalyanam on day 7, we will see what kind of a marriage it is. Here, Swayambhuva Manu was told by Narada, the Lord says, go and approach a great Prajapati called Kardama. Kardama Prajapati is the suitable groom for you. Samanushata rupaya mahishya gunavatya sutaya cha devahutya bhavadirita naradopadishtaha samagat kardamamagatif pratiksham. On the other hand, Kardama Prajapati was performing penance to the Lord. And it is said that the Lord appeared on Garuda. And he said, Kardama, it is high time you get married. There is this person called Swayambhuva Manu. He has got a nice daughter called Devahuti. Go marry her. That is understandable. But where Bhagavatam becomes important is, I'll read out the shlokam. Nirikshitastasya yathavaseshat siddheshwara bhishtuta siddhamargaha akarnayan patra rathendra pakshair ucharitam stoma mudirna sama. So when the Lord appeared in the presence of Kardama, told him, go and marry Swayambhuva Manu's daughter Devahuti, as he commanded and left, Bhagavatam states, Stomam Udirna Sama. Stomam Udirna Sama means, as Garuda flapped his wings, Kardama was able to listen to Sama Vedam. Because Garuda essentially in the Vedas is treated as a bird that can sense Vedic chants. So Garuda is treated as the personification of Vedic quintessence. Garudan uruvam marayin porulam kannan karigirimel nindru anaithum kakindrane is Deshika's statement. That is why Muthuswami Dikshita, one of the great Shastriya Sangeeta Vagayakaras, when he was asked to visit Kanchipuram, he said, I will choose the day of Garuda Seva. Because when the Lord appears on Garuda, it is believed that you are seeing the Vedic quintessence in the form of Garuda, and the one who's showcased by Veda in the Vedanta above him, who is Varadaraja. Kalidosha haratirtha prabhava guru guhadinatam kapila shukadi sannuta garuda vahadhirudam varadaraja mupasmahe. Vedatma vihageshwaraha stoma mudirna sama. Vedam says that the wings of Garuda are nothing but the quintessence of Sama Vedam. Now we may want to understand, sir, will birds, the fauna, contribute to sound? That is why in Sangeetam, every swara is associated with the sound of something in the fauna. The sound that comes from a bull becomes Rishabham. The sound that comes from a kokila, which is the cuckoo bird, becomes Panchamam. So every swaram comes from something that can be deciphered from the nature. So the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, all the 6 swaras are born from the first. So the first swaram is called Shat Jam. It gives birth, Jam, to Shat, to the 6 swaras. So here we have Garuda who appears, and then that sound is told. That is why if you look at any temple's Kumbhabhishekam or Samprokshanam, after having 5 days of Vedic recitation, towards the end of it, the Vedic waters are poured on the Kalasham. The Vedic scholars will immediately look to the sky to check if Garuda Pakshi is there above. Whether it is Shiva temple, Vishnu temple, whichever is the temple, above they look, because when Vedic chants are there, it is believed that Garuda is perceived to be there. That said, Kardama Prajapati married Devahuti. They had many girls. Those girls were married. Then she went and said, I want one beta now. Beti ho gaya. Beti bachao, beti padhao is over. Now I want beta. I don't know what was the technique to make that XXXY, but still, she says, Kulastri tu shirasnana mutsave snatu tailataha vareva paitrike karman anyada kantha samplava neha yat karma dharmaya nishna viragaya kalpate natirtham padasevayai jivannapi mritehi saha saham bhagavato nunam vanchita mayaya dridham yastvam vimuktidam prapya namumuksheya bandhanat. That is when the husband said, by God's grace, we should have a good son. And eventually they had the partial manifestation of Paramatma. See, in Avataram, certain avatars are treated as Purna Avataram. Tatte pratyagra dhara dhara lalitakala yavali kelikaram lavanya syaikasaram sukriti janadrisham purna punyavataram lakshmi nishanka leela nilayana mamritasyanda sandoha mantaha sinchat sanchintakanam vapuranu kalaye marutagaranatha, says Bhattatri. Certain avatars are believed where the Lord chooses to be himself. There are certain avatars where the Lord may choose any one of the jivatmas like us. He, out of his repository of auspicious qualities, attributes, will inject one of the attributes in that jivatma. That is called an Amshavataram or Apurnavataram. So avatars are of 2 types, Purnavataram and Apurnavataram. Apurnavataram is called Amshavataram. There is some aspect of Paramatma in them, but they are not Paramatma in the entirety. For example, Parashurama, Balarama, Vyasa, they are all called Amshavatarams. So they will have some greatness in them, but they will also have doshams. That is why they can easily be won over. That is why many people will ask, sir, Ram is also an avatar of Vishnu. Parashurama is also an avatar of Vishnu. How in Ramayana, Rama wins over Parashurama? Because Purna Avataram will always have something complete vis-a-vis an Apurna Avataram which will have certain deficiencies. So it can be easily won over. Ghana kupita bhrugurama garvaharamita saketam bhavayami raghuramam. Ghana kupita bhrugurama garvaharamita saketam. Garvam will come down and then Rama was able to win. So there were 3 Rams those days. One was Jairam. Who is Jairam? Jamadagni's son Ram. Parashurama was Jairam. The other was D-Ram, Dasharatha Ram. Who's the other Ram? V-Ram, Vasudeva's son Balram. And in Kali Yugam we have N-Ram. So this is the Prakriya. Here we have an Amshavataram of the Lord born as Kapilacharya to Kardama Prajapati. Maharishi Kapilacharya Kritagno Medhinipatihi. Maharishihi Kapilacharya. Very well educated, very enlightened Atma. Now this lady Devahuti had some questions about creation. That is, creation means not with respect to the overall creation. How a Jivatma is stationed in a body. So she went and asked Kardama. Kardama said, I am on my way to the forest. I want to become a Vanaprastha. Go ask these questions to our son. She was doubtful. Our son? He will be like us, confused. How can I go and ask? She said, no. We have Amshavataram of the Lord. You go and ask him. That is when the mother approaches the son to get her queries, to seek some clarification to her queries. Then she asks how the child is born, how the creation happens. Now Kapila starts giving Upadesham to his mother, which is famously called Kapilopadesham. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Kapilopadesham is a very central part. And today, it is your karma that you are listening to me. If you have to listen to Kapilopadesham, it should happen from the stalwart called Sengalipuram Anantarama Dikshitar. He was a stalwart. The way he used to give Kapilopadesham, though I have never seen him through my physical eyes, my maternal grandparents were very closely associated with his family. I've heard his voice. It is so much of an inspiration during my childhood days when I used to listen to the Gambhiryam in his voice. Here goes the shlokam. Matiriha gunasakta bandhakriteshvasakta tvamrita kruparundhe bhakti yogastu saktim mahada gunamalabhya bhaktire vatrasadhya kapilatanuriti devahutyai nyagadihi. So, he talks about how the creation happens. You have Mahad, Gunam, Ahankaram, and then the creation of Panchabhutas, Panchatanmatras, Panchajnanendriyas, Panchakarmendriyas, and all of them stationed in our body. See, we are, what is this body called in Vedanta? If you go to any Vedanta lecture, they'll say, Pancha Bhautika Shariram. We have got the 5 elements in our body. That is why in Eno advertisement, they'll show fire inside the stomach. And if you take statins or other molecules, some say, oh, I'll get water accumulation near in my foot because there is water. And if you don't answer questions well in the school days in India, they'll say, Mandela manna irukku. So there is Prithvi. Or there will be Akasham. What is Akasham? Space. Inside our head. That is the problem. It should be outside our head. Now, the mother asked, when does the Jivatma enter the body? How is the little one formed? Now the son, who is Kapila, starts explaining. He says, the first samskara which is there in Sanatana Dharma, which is called Garbhodakam, where the sperm from the man goes and fertilizes the ovum. So this is the first samskara. It's called Garbhodakam. And if the fertilization is successful, the shlokam says, in 5 nights it becomes the size of a bubble. Then the next shlokam says, in 10 days it becomes the size of a plum. Next, it will become a bigger ball. See, you may wonder, why do they say plum, lemon? Because in those days, kitchen was the best place to learn Vedanta. Even today, if you ask how much tamarind should I take, nellikka alavu puli. The similes will always be with the fruits and vegetables that you see. So he says plum, then there is a flesh ball. At the end of 1 month, the head is formed. Next, at the end of 2 months, the hands, feet are formed. At the end of 3 months, the nails start developing, hair starts developing. At the end of 4th month, blood starts flowing well, the flesh is very much developed. So these are the shlokas. Towards the end of the 3rd month is the second samskara in Sanatana Dharma, which is called Pumsavanam, which is performed. Now, since we can't afford both money and time to have 2 samskaras, we combine the 3rd month samskara with the 7th month called Simantonayanam. So the 7th month, 8th month conjuncture, we have Simantam. See, today we have reached a stage where it is not nice to ask someone whether you are married, not married, working, not working, between jobs, job, no job, whether you are studying, not studying, whether you have children or not, no children. So we don't ask such questions. So in those days, probably too, these thoughts were embedded. That is why there were certain ways of dressing up to show what your marital status is. So if your Samavartanam is over and if you are a Grihastha, you have to wear dhoti in the form of Panchakacham. So you will know that that mama is married. So similarly for women, prior to marriage, their hair will always be combed this way. They will pull their hair backwards. After the marriage also, they should remain that way. While they are pregnant for the first time by the divine grace, in the 7th month, the needle-like structure from the porcupine's body is taken and the hair is split. This splitting of hair, splitting process in Sanskritam is called Simantam. It is ta, Simanta. Because in Tamil, there is no difference between da and ta. So we say Simandam. Nothing is mandam here. It's Simantam. Ta. So Simantam is performed. Now you may all wonder, sir, why from a porcupine? That I don't know. But I will tell you the reason. But in the greatness of Amazon is you get those porcupine needles also. You check. So, why this porcupine? I will tell you why it could be a reason. Remember that Sanatana Dharma encourages one to be vegetarian. Encourages. It promotes vegetarianism, but it doesn't make vegetarianism mandatory. There is a difference between the two. Nobody has mandated that all astikas in Dallas should come here. If you are interested, come. உடையோர்களுக்கெல்லாம் ஆரியர்கள் கூறுவோம் என்று பேசி வரும் வருத்தார். You all came out your own. Similarly, Sanatana Dharma says if you are vegetarian, it is better. Ahara shuddhau sattva shuddhihi, sattva shuddhau dhruva smritihi. Simple food, less calorie food will always give you more time to contemplate on Paramatma. But it doesn't make vegetarianism mandatory. So much so that we have many statements in the Puranas to suggest during the yugas in those days, Brahmanas were also consuming non-veg. Because half-baked knowledge will always end, we will be shown the mirror very soon. Brahmanas were consuming, even Vasishtha and Vishnu Puranam, there is an incident where, in Kalmashapadha's incident, hare, rabbit is cooked and it is served. Some puruchakuttu or something is made and it is served. So we have Vasishtha consuming, we have Rama consuming. Rama consumed non-veg food. I told this, I had one Ramayana Navaham in Vasant Vihar, Delhi. It was in English. Many astikas attended. Then at the end of it, one person said, आप कैसे बोल सकते हैं कि राम जी ने मांस खाया? मैं नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, वाल्मीकि जी बोल रहे हैं. Immediately that person was very well read. Next day he got one verse from Kishkinda Kandam and said, see, Rama says I won't have non-veg. In Kishkinda Kandam there is a shloka. I said, very good. Because Sita was abducted. So he said, because any day non-vegetarian food is a luxurious food. It is not less expensive. It is expensive. So he said, in the absence of Sita, I will not have non-veg. When Lallu went in, robbery did not happen. There was one statement. So, it is a statement like that. But Rama consumed non-veg. Now, does that mean we should follow Rama everywhere. No. Ramare Shatrikar Naman Japtulla. No. Agastya, Apastamba and Bodhayana say that Brahmanas especially, since your profession does not require so much of calories, from now on we suggest that Brahmanas should not have non-veg. This is the rule given by Agastya, Apastamba and Bodhayana. In those people who were allowed to have non-vegetarian food, what were those 5 animals? In Kishkinda Kandam, Rama makes a mention. Pancha Panchanakaha Bhakshya, 5 nailed, 5 animals' flesh can be consumed. One is porcupine, second is iguana, third is tortoise. All this is there. Nobody take this as a rule that I am saying. It is there in Ramayana. So while consuming the porcupine's flesh, they have to take the needles out. They will keep those needles intact to be used for Seemantam. For that Seemantam, I had to tell the porcupine. Now the Seemantam comes. That is why Vedanta Deshika and Raghuvira Gadyam says, when Sri Ramachandra constructed the Setu between Bharatadesham and Lanka, in the oceanic waters, the Setu split the waters. So it looked as if Rama performed Seemantam to Samudram. Setu Patha, Seema, Seemantita Samudra, he says. Now this is the third samskara. Now during the 7th month period is when the child can take cognizance of good sound, audio from outside. That is why in the 7th month, one of the instruments in Shastriya Sangeetam which can get very close to cognizance is Veena. So Veena is played in the 7th month. In those days, there used to be a Vedic statement which used to be played on the Veena. But if you do not know that Vedic statement, what to do? That is why they say in the 7th month, play Sri Ragam. Why is Sri Ragam played? You have been, then immediately one musician will say, you are distancing other ragas, you are causing sadness to other ragas. What will Kalyani think? What will Kamboji think? Shri is performed because in Sanskritam, Shri means Vedam. Sahi Shrir Amrita Satam. Shri means Vedam. So in the Veda's place, Sri Ragam is played. So all this is mentioned to the mother. Then after the 8th month, around the end of that 9th month, is when the child has to come out. Prior to which there is a darshana saubhagyam given to the child, whoever is the child, within the mother's womb to see Paramatma. We have all seen Paramatma, trust me, Vedam says. But then the child is pulled out because the head has to come. The moment the head comes, Shatam is a component in the outside atmosphere which happens to touch the scalp of the child, and that has the attribute to make the child forget things. So the child has Purna Anubhavam, Brahma Anubhavam. When it comes, it touches and the child loses memory of it. Imagine, see, there are many occasions in our mundane lives. We want to tell the other person something. By the time we reach that person, just a second before that, we'll forget. Have you had those experiences? You will feel so terrible for even existing on this earth at that point in time. It is just here. Many will say, sir, it has come till here. How will I know? It has to come outside. Jihvagra simhasanam abhyupeya. So the child also has managed to see something exquisite and extraordinary. But the child forgets because of shatam. So the child starts crying and we celebrate the child's cry. So this is mentioned here. Yuvati Jatarakhinno Jatabodhopya Khande Prasavagalita Bodhav Pidayol Langhyabalyam Punarapibata Muhyat Yeva Tarunya Kale Kapilatanurititvam Devahutye Nyagadihi. So the mother wanted to know how the Jivatma enters. Now she wanted to know how it exits. So in a normal natural death, now don't tell me in forest fire if somebody dies, one person dies from top of the building, what will happen? They are all unnatural deaths. Natural death, what will happen? There is a process called as Trusthuna Kshobanam. In the back, Kundalini Prakriya begins, where it says there are 3 rod-like structures and they will start churning. We have got all those chakrams. People who recite Lalita Sahasranam will know that better. Agnya, Chakranthala, Rasta. Then you have got Sahasrara Chakram, Manipuraka Chakram. These are all chakras. Now the Jivatma is believed to be in an inverted lotus-like structure, very minuscule in nature, below the diaphragm. So when the karma account starts depleting and says that you have to exit the body, there will be a remote control to tell the Jivatma, exit, exit, exit. Now how it has to exit? See, whenever you have to come out of a company, first you have to reach all the departments, then you'll have to say you have to clear your space. So slowly one indriyam will start dysfunctioning. You can't see that well, you can't hear that well, you can't taste that well. So pancha indriyas will start failing. Then Manas Chandram says, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Then the mind will start dysfunctioning. Slowly they will all pull inwards and a signal will be given to the Jivatma, exit. So the Jivatma is a long-term tenant. It is like the Pagadi system in Mumbai. So it has lived for many years. Kurambai aduthu kudipukka avi vem kuttukku itta varambai aduthu varugum, says Abhirama Bhattar in Abhirami Andadi. So the tenant refuses to empty the house. So many notices will be served. After each every hospitalization, it is being served notice. You have to exit the body, exit the body. Then finally the Jivatma will start exiting. When it has to exit, there are 101 ways. Some are toll gates, some are not toll gates. The first 100, if the Jivatma exits through the first 100 nadis, Punarjanmam is sure. So from Texas, you may go to Louisiana, or to Montana, Utah, you may go somewhere. Or Jivatma can even go to Ukraine, it has that power. You may be born in Ukraine, Afghanistan, Czechoslovakia, wherever you want. Only if the Jivatma exits through the 101st Nadi, it is called Sushumna, there is no rebirth. Sir, how to tell the Jivatma, sir, now? That is why, while the Jivatma exists in the body, a Brahma Vidya should be performed, either Bhakti or Sharanagati. So then the Jivatma exits. If it exits through the first 100 nadis, the Jivatma will walk by the path of smoke. It is called Dhumadi Margam. If it exits through the 101st nadi, it will be directed by the light from the fire. It is called as Archiradi Margam, Archis. We have these namas in Sahasranamam. Vihaya Sagatihi Jyotihi Suruchit Hutabuk Vibhuhu Ravihi Virochanaha Suryaha Savita Ravilochanaha Ananto Hutabuk Bhokta Sukhadaha Naikado Grijaha. We have these namas, right? These describe the path of Jivatma to Vaikuntham. These namas. Vihaya Sagatihi Jyotihi Suruchihi Hutabuk Vibhuhu Ravihi Virochanaha Suryaha Savita Ravilochanaha. These are the ways through which the Jivatma will exit. So if it is no rebirth, it is through the northern path. In stock market we call it bullish, right? If it is going southwards, it will go bearish through Jambavan, otherwise through Nandi. So, Pitrasura Ganayachi Dharmiko Yo Grihastha Sachani Patati Kale Dakshina Dhopagami Mai Nihitamakamam Karma Duktat Patartham Kapilatanurititvam Devahutye Nagadihi. After having described the process of how the Jivatma enters and exits the body, Devahuti is in all awe of her son. Yenga padichayya ni idella? I am your mother, I know nothing of it. Then she sought refuge in her son. She said, you are not my son, you are Sakshat Paramatma. And then she attained moksham. This is called as Kapilopadesham, Kapilavatam. Next we have another important Charithram in Srimad Bhagavatam that talks the essence of Panchaksharam, the greatness of Shivanama. While describing the greatness of Shivanama, Dakshayagam comes into picture. The most talked about Yagam in those days, because Daksha Prajapati had a daughter called Sati. She was often referred to as the daughter of Daksha, so she was called Dakshayani. This Dakshayani fell in love with Lord Shiva. So she performed penance, she wanted to marry Shiva. The father opposed. She said, no, as per Article 15b and 34f, I can marry the person of my choice. I am exercising my democratic right, and she married Shiva. Once in one of the round table conferences, where all the devas were assembled, Brahma, Shiva, Daksha entered the hall. So technically, Daksha was the father-in-law of Shiva. But Shiva didn't rise from his seat. Daksha felt a lot humiliated. You are my son-in-law, you are not giving importance to me. And he started abusing Shiva. Yashaghanaha, Nirapatrapaha, Markatalochanaha, Ashuchaye, Manine, Pretavaseshu, Ghoreshu, Uttamatvat, Nagnaha, Vyuptakeshaha, Chittabhasma Kritasnanaha. He started abusing. The moment he abused Shiva, the Ganas got, see, even if Tala and Talapadi don't fight, their followers will fight. So the followers of Shiva got agitated. You Daksha, you are scolding Shiva. So Daksha said, who are you? You are all Ganas, keep quiet. That is when Daksha got angry and he said, your leader is not answering whatever his followers, Rasigar Mandram does, he is agreeing to that, so I curse you. Ayam tu deva yajanam indropendradibhirbhavaha sahabhagam nalabhatam devaganadhamaha. So Daksha says, from now on, when a yagam is performed, the havis will not directly reach Shiva. That is why there are, if you observe Shrautam, if you listen to the rules of Shrauta Prakriya, because for us we don't concentrate on what homam is done. We will just ask the Vadyar, ஒரு மணி நேரத்துல முடிஞ்சிருமா? இலை போட்டுள்ளாமா? இலை போட்டுள்ளாமா? சாப்பிடுறதுலயே. So we won't know what he is asking us to do. So he will keep doing, and then we'll have to say hi. Gopaya Gopi Janavar Ullavango. Paraya Paramapurusaya Paramatmane Bhumbhat Saatutu Pono. Bhumbhat Swaha. So our concentration is not there. During a yagam, if the Purohita is also a Purohita, you know why he's called Purohita? The one who is outside our family, he is not connected to us, but thinks good for us. Purohitam. He thinks good for us. So Puraha Hite Iti. So he always thinks good for us. So this Purohita, if he is also good, he will tell you what you are doing. When Shiva Mantram or Rudra Mantram comes, you will notice the priest will say, touch the water. There will be some glass of water, you have to touch that. Why? Here comes the Vishayam. Because Shiva Mahadeva stays in Bhasma Bhumi, Smashana Bhumi. If you happen to even go to a house that has seen a death recently, you come back home and take bath. Since he is in a Smashana Bhumi, it is said that you have to touch the waters. There are many rules in Shastram. It's called Purva Apacheda Nyayam, how you have to follow the other person while walking. You should not talk in any other language but the Veda Bhasha. If you talk in any other Bhasha but the Veda Bhasha, for example, phone comes, hello, you say during a yagam, there is a prayaschittam. All this is there. Buddhya parabidhyainya vismritatma atmani gataf pashuhu strikamaha stotvatataram. So what happens is, the moment Daksha curses Shiva, Nandi curses Daksha. Tit for tat, sharpam for sharpam. He says you will soon get the head of a goat. This is his sharpam. He says, Daksho bastamukho chirat. Now, after Nandi curses Daksha, Daksha's close friend Bhrigu curses the Ganas of Shiva. What is this, sir? Yesha yeva hi lokanam Shiva pantha sanatanaha yam purve chanu samsturya yat pramanam janardanaha bhavavrtadara yecha tan samanuvrataha pakhandinastaste bhavantu satshastra paripanthinaha. The Shapam was, one section of devout Shiva devotees, one section shall follow principles which are against the Vedic injunctions. For example, going to a Smashana Bhumi and then coming back, take bath. Do not consume liquor. Do not touch bones. All this will be followed, whichever is mentioned as don't in the Vedas will be followed by one section of Shiva devotees. You refer to them as Aghoras today. If you go to the banks of Ganga in Varanasi, they will be there. So they are one small section. Not all Shiva Panthas will follow that. They are all very orthodox. Some won't. So they all follow certain agamas called Nakulisham, Kapalikam and so on. Now the point is, they are one small, minuscule portion of the entire Sanatana Dharma. If you look at Aghoras, they will be Naghana Purushas. They won't have clothes. They will be smeared all with ashes. And for them, sannyasa ashramam is consumption of liquor. So the moment they consume liquor, they can become a sannyasi. And they have to seek bhiksha on kapalam, on skulls. So this is their practice. Whether it is right or wrong is not under the realm of our speech. But that represents one small section. But whenever I go to universities as a guest speaker here, Australia, they'll say, we want a guest speaker from Hinduism to come and talk. Now, Hinduism, they'll put on that there'll be one LED screen behind. Talk by Dushyanth. I'll be talking about Visishtadvaita. They'll put the photo of Agoras in the background. So the Western world sees what it wishes to see in Hinduism. So they represent one section. That is why they say, Pakhanditaste bhavantu sachastra paripantinaha. This incident was over. Now, Daksha performed a yagam called Brihaspati Savam. I will ask this question tomorrow. Whoever answers, you will get one chocolate. So, Brihaspati Savam. After Vajapayam. Vajapayam is one kind of yagam. So, those who performed Vajapayam were called Vajapayis. That is why he was called Atal Bihari Vajpayi. So, they performed a yagam called Vajapayam. So, if you perform Agnihotram, you will be called Agnihotri. Now he takes movies, but earlier they used to perform yagam. Now, this yagam was performed and all of them were invited except Shiva and Dakshayani. This could have easily gone unnoticed, but Shachi Devi had a WhatsApp group. She immediately texted at Sati. She said, she tagged, aren't you coming? Sati said, where? Your father is performing Brihaspati Savam. Weren't you invited? Sorry about that. She said, see, for Yagam, why should we expect an invitation? I will come on my own. And she said, Anahuta apyabhiyanti sauhridam bharturguro deha kritaschaketanam. She came. Sati was not given due honors. She went and debated with her father, discussed and debated with her father. They should have called Shiva. He said, I cannot call that man. He's not even my son-in-law, I cannot call. Immediately, Sati sat in a yogic posture. About 25 minutes back, I said that we are a body of Panchabhutam. There is fire in us. So she invoked the fire within her to burn her. She didn't go and jump into blazing fire. She invoked the fire within her to burn her. And it burnt her. Now, how is that possible? See, bleeding, we always think it's external. There is something called internal bleeding as well. Likewise, burning can happen within. That burnt her. So, later in the 11th century, when there were Islamic invasions on many northwestern parts of the country, to escape the tyrant after effects of the Yuddham, the women in the northwestern part of India used to fall voluntarily into fire. So since Sati got burnt with an internal fire, this practice was called Sati. So this is the connection that we have. Anyways, here, the moment Shiva understands that Sati has been burnt, he releases a Gana called Veerabhadra. Veerabhadra comes to that Yajnavatika, destroys the Yajnavatika. Only one Brihaspati Savam Yajnam alone is pending. He cuts the head of, beheads Daksha, and then again something which may not be relatable scientifically but only through Mantra Shastras, the head of a goat is given to him and he becomes Bastamukha, Ajamukha. Then there is a Veerabhadra Stuti. But the point here is, why does this feature in Bhagavatam? Why should that feature in Bhagavatam? Because a yagam which is started should not be left inconclusive. So here Shuka Brahman says, the Lord himself came and completed the yagam. So any task that you take up, suppose you have prayed that I will come to Tirupati if my son gets through this AP course, you have to fulfill. Generally, you don't have to pray, because whatever the son or daughter reads, based on how much they have read, they may get good marks. Venkateshwara Swami cannot come and write their exam. Remember that the child has to study. Grace will come. So, generally it's a practice that you don't make it a business transaction in Sanatana Dharma. In the last 50 years, that is the only thing that we have done. 108 coconuts to Ganesha if my son passes that exam. For that, the son has to study. But we have made it a business-like transaction, saying that this is also bhakti. And we don't have one monitoring body to correct us. But my humble suggestion is, please do contribute to temples and then make their activities all the more strong, but don't make it a business transaction. If I get this, I will do that. That is not the way bhakti works. Bhakti will never work that way. And if that is the way it works, it is not even bhakti. Mushti kuchela munaye dattesma vitteshatam. You may at most say, whatever is good for my child, you do. This is the best prayer that we can have. You do this, I will give that. Not nice to even listen. Right? But that's how we have become. So this is Daksha Yajnam. Since, towards the end of this Daksha Yajnam, I personally feel Daksha had done Shiva Ninda. Shiva Ninda is very wrong in Shastram. So I will conclude with one verse from Shivananda Lahari. Guhayam geheva bahirapi vane vadrishikhare jaleva vanhauva vasatu vasate kimbada phalam sada yasyaivantaha karanamapi shambho tava pade sthitam chet yogosau sacha paramayogi sacha sukhi. You know how beautiful Shiva is described by a Nayanmar. Kunitta purvamum kavvai shevvayit kumitchirippum panitta shadayum pavalam pol meniyit pal venneerum inittamudaya edutha porpadamum kaanappetral manitta piraviyum venduvade immanilatte. Another Nayanmar says, Aadi nindrai andam elum kadandu pol melavayyum koodi nindrai kuvimen mulai alayum kondudane பாடி நின்றாய் பழனத்தரசே அங்கொர் பான்மதியம் சூடி நின்றாய் அடியேனை அஞ்சாமை குறிக்கொள்வதேன். How handsome is Lord Shiva. So we have compensated for Daksha's Shivaninda by beautiful verses of the Nayanmars. This Charithram is over. Next. I spoke about Swayambhuva Manu and said we'll keep revisiting him. How many daughters he had? Very good. How many sons he had? 2. One of the sons was called Uttanapada. This Uttanapada had 2 wives. Again, pertinent question. Many youngsters, my dear friends, will ask why polygamy was practiced. That we don't know. Is it worth encouraging? Not at all. Polygamy, polyandry, both what we think of Draupadi, or that is not generally recommendable. But they did not prefer to be polyandrous or polygamous. Situations were different. But now when we are leading a normal life, polygamy or polyandry is something to be abhorred. But Uttanapada had 2 wives. For now, let's assume that he was okay and those wives were also okay with that many to one function. Uttanapada nrupater manunandanasya jaya babhuva suruchir nitaramabhishta anya sunitiriti bhartrur anadrita sa tvameva nityamagati sharanam gata bhut. Uttanapada had 2 wives. The first wife was Suniti. Through Suniti, he had a son called as Dhruva. Any Dhruvas here? There is one Dhruva. Any other Dhruva? Okay. Anybody who knows any Dhruva? Very good. Vikram's son. Who? So, Uttanapada Nrupater. So, two wives. Suniti's son was Dhruva. Suruchi, second wife's son, was Uttama. One day, Uttama went and sat on his father's lap. Normal incident which occurs in most houses. Dhruva, the first son, was seeing the love this boy, his brother, was receiving from his father. He was quite interested to be a recipient of this selfless love which the father was showering on his brother Uttama. So Dhruva came running and sat on the other lap of Uttanapada. As this boy sat, somebody held Dhruva's neck by force, pulled him out. Look at your audacity to come and sit on your father's lap. Oh boy, you are not that fortunate because you have not been conceived by me. You're not my son. You're not Suruchi's son. You're that Suniti's son. So if you're interested to be a recipient of your father's selfless love, go perform austerities to the Lord. Tell the Lord that I should be reborn in the womb of Suruchi, and then you shall get the love by being Suniti's son. Don't even expect an iota of the love that your brother is getting. She said, 4.5-year-old boy. Is this the way you talk? She spoke. Navatsa nripate dhishnyan bhavan narodhumarhati nagrihito mayayastvam kukshavapi nripatmajaha tapasaradhya purusham tasyaiva nugrahena me garbhetvam sadhyatmanam yadichhasi nripasanam. Now, while condensing Bhagavatam as Narayaniyam, Bhattatri in Guruvayur asks a pertinent question. He asks, how can a lady who's a mother herself speak such harsh words in such a harsh tone to a little boy? To which he answers, he says, Dushyanthyaja khalu bhavad vimukhair asuya. Hey Krishna, since she has never internalized your beautiful form and attributes, a person who has never had Krishna bhakti will always be a recipient of unwarranted jealousy. Without Krishna bhakti, all such gunams will creep into our mind. Dussantyaja khalu bhavad vimukhair asuya. She had jealousy as a result. Now this boy goes and tells his mother, Suniti, Ma, Suruchi told me like this, Ma. What we would have said? Did she say like that? You see what I am going to write about her on social media. I will tag her. I will abuse her. I will take her. Suniti said, hope you have not answered her back or hurt her. You should be patient, my dear son. But there may be truth to what she says. My dear son, maybe since you are born to me, my prarabdha karma is also troubling you. Anya janma kritaif punyai suruchyam suruchir nripaha bharyeti prochyate chanya madvidha punyavarjita. This boy was extremely hurt. See, we always think physical assault troubles us. Yes, physically we should not assault. That is very wrong legally everywhere. But over a period of time, even the hurt or wound or the scar that we have will vanish through physical assault. But verbal assault will stay with us for ages. You know, our hero in Tamil Nadu, Thiruvalluvar, states, Tiyinal Shuttappun Ullarum, Arade Navinal Shutta Vadu. Should be very careful with what you speak. We should have a control, Ankusham. That is why in those days people used to take like intermittent fasting. They used to go on intermittent Mauna Vratams in those days. Why open your mouth? Only if we open we'll have problem. Let us staple the mouth. So you should go on Mauna Vratam. So this boy was hurt. How hurt was he? How harsh were her words? Tyagaraja Swami says, you take a trident, a trishulam, made in cast iron, put that into blazing fire. The fire heats the trident up. The epithelial layer of that trishulam will be blazing red. Take that hot trident and put it into one's ear. Such harsh were the words of Suruchi. Sa patni mata yau suruchi che karna shulamai namatanu vitanu surukala talaka shri harini dhyaninchi sukhim pakaleda hariti ninnu kana ruchira sa patni ma suruchi che కర్ణశూలమైన మాటను వారు చెప్పిన మాట కర్ణశూలమైనగా ఉంది. Her words were like the trident that strikes the ears. Now this boy was hurt. He said, my mother, I aspire for something better. What? I want to sit on the lap of a person whose affection is perennial, unadulterated, incessant. I don't know, my son, you ask somebody well learned what to do. That is when the boy goes out of his bhavanam, he goes and speaks to Narada Maharishi, says Bhagavatam. Vishnu Puranam states that he spoke to Saptarishis. What do we do now? Easy. He spoke to Saptarishis and Narada. That's all. So, Anaradhita Govindair Narair Sthanam Nripatmaja Nahi Samprapyate Sreshtham Tasmad Aradhyamachyutam. Marichi said, my dear boy, for all the qualities that you're associating with your paternal affection, you can receive it only from Aradhyam Achyutam. Go to Achyuta. Similarly, Angirasa said, Sthanamagram yadichasi Govindam. Go to Govinda. Pulastya says, Yosau Brahma tatha param tamaradhya hariryati. Go to Hari. Pulaha said, Kratu said, Vasishtha said, Atri said, and so does Narada. Narada teaches him the Dvadashakshara Mahamantram, which has Pranavam, Namaha Shabdam, Bhagavata Shabdam, and then Vasudeva Shabdam. It is called Dvadashaksharam. Sir, aisa batane ke liye you can tell the mantra, right? Because there is a rule in Shastram, Mantra Rakshana Gudhatma. Mantra should never be recited in the public. Nahi sir, Gayatri mantra hai. गायत्री मंत्र तो मेरा फोन का रिंगटोन भी है, उसमें क्या दिक्कत है? आपको बोल तो सकते हैं, देयर इज नो हार्म. बट शास्त्रम से सी ट्रेडिशनली mantra should not be told. You know, while reciting Gayatri mantram also you have to keep that Brahmanadi here, and then you have to close your eyes, your lips should not move, the other person should not know you're reciting Gayatri. These are the rules for Gayatri. Now we put Kamboji Ragam, A.R. Rahman is tuning. So na 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 na. Can you recognize that? You should not do all this, because Gayatri is a mantram. So there is already one embedded. So rishis have already composed. See, I'm not even telling that mantram. I'm telling you how that mantram goes. Anuddatam, Udattam, Swaritam. There is a Dirgha Swaritam in it. So this is how it should be recited. Gayantam Trayati iti Gayatri. You have to sing. And the way it has been sung is what protects you. Says, now you may ask, what if I sing? See, I told you, right, Sanatana Dharma is liberal. It will give one rule. If you want, you follow. Else do the way you want. That's all. Nobody is going to say, oh, what if I don't recite? Don't recite. See, to each his or her own in Sanatana Dharma. We are tagged to our own karma. Nobody will sit on us and say, this is right, that is right. They will say, they'll try advising, else don't. So, Dvadashaksharam is this mantram. That is why I didn't say it in the mic. I just said there is a Pranavam, there is a Namaha Shabdam, there is a Bhagavata Shabdam, there is a Vasudeva Shabdam, there is a Aya Padam, Lupta Chaturthi there, there is a Chaturthi Vibhakti there, all this. Now this boy started performing that tapas in the forest called Madhuvanam. Madhuvanam is today called Madhura or Mathura. So in Puranas, the city is referred to as Madhura. Madhu means honey. Later, using one tup pratyayam mentioned in one of the sutras of Unati, then we have this becoming Mathura. What is Mathura famous for? Peda and Petha. That Mathura. Shrivatsankam Ghanashyamam Purusham Vanamalinam Shankha Chakragada Padmair Abhivyaktas Chaturbhujam Kiritinam Kundalinam Keyuravanamanvitam Kaustubha Bharanagrivam Pita Kausheya Vasasam. Now, the best way to meditate and internalize the Lord, Shastram says, eat less. Eat less, sleep less. When you eat less, you will sleep less. Right? If I have good food, I will get carbo coma. I will sleep. So this boy started consuming lesser food. So he had kapitha and badara juice. He went on keto. So at the end of 3 nights for 1 month. Then he had dry leaves. See, in Sanatana Dharma, suicide is also not allowed. Because as much as the Jivatma is Paramatma's possession, the body is also given by him. So technically you do not have the right to let off this body go. You have to keep the Jivatma within the body, for which you need food. But if you are under austerities, you cannot have food. That is why Shastram says, to help the Atma sustain in the body, you can consume dry leaves. So people in those days, on Ekadashi days, there used to be diabetic patients in those days. Diabetes is not a 20th century disorder. It was there even then. That is why when people what they used to do is the tulasi that is offered to the Lord and then becomes dry, they will take that powder on the day of Ekadashi if they find it very tough for the Jivatma to sustain. So a leaf is called Parnam. See, Parvati, we have discussed about Daksha's daughter, Dakshayani. Later, Himavan had a daughter called Parvatavardhini or Parvati. Parvati was head over heels in love with Lord Shiva. Because she thought, see, he looks so simple. My brother is always dressed. This man looks so simple. I love his simplicity. So she wanted to perform austerities to Shiva. Knowing her daughter's rigidity, she will achieve and attain what she wishes to attain. This Parvati's mother, Mena or Manorama, stopped her. Please don't go. Don't go, my dear daughter. You're straining yourself. Don't get into these austerities. Don't go. Uma. In Sanskritam, Uma, don't. So that became her name, Uma. Since she went to the forest and she refused to even consume the dry leaves called Parnam, she is called Aparna. You have this name Aparna, right? All this comes in Kumara Sambhavam of Kalidasa. Kalidasa makes this into beautiful verses. Now, this boy consumed dry leaves, he drank water, then later he sustained only on breathing. That is when he stood motionless on one foot. When all this happened, the Lord one day appeared. First of all, he has never seen the Lord before. See, had he been in 2023, he would have seen, because our houses are full of God's photos. Except the powder room and 1 or 2 places, there are God photos everywhere. Every lecture I tell this, I get some abuses also, but I'll tell this again. As a friendly advice, I'm sure Dallas Astikas treat me as your family member. I will give one friendly advice. Don't accumulate portraits. Don't gift portraits. See, from a personal standpoint, I'm telling you, I give 300 lectures a year. Different organizers. I go within India, outside India. Every organizer, they want to show their love by giving one photo to me. They will give one Rama's photo, Krishna's photo. Alongside, they have to give me one house also in Plano. That they won't give. Where will I keep these photos? Right? So they will show, they'll say bhakti. See, all our idiosyncratic acts cannot be called bhakti. 150 years before, there was not even so much of printing press. Where all our forefathers Nastikas, they were Astikas. They had a simple living. If they were Vaishnavas, they will have Shalagramam. If they were Smartas, they will have Panchayatanam. If they can't do Aradhanam, they will have a small Vigraham. That's all. The puja room used to look so simple and elegant. Today, we don't know whether it is a puja room or a magician's cave. Mandravadi Goha kuda inno better are. Or that Swami gave one lemon, this Swami gave one carrot. What have we made our puja rooms? We think the number of photos is directly proportional to our see, we have our house security, right? So the more photos we have, so much of VFX rays we will get. This is, see, I agree there is this facility given in Sanatana Dharma to worship your Ishtadaivam through a form. Vigraha Aradhana is allowed, but we should not overdo that. See, in Dhoti, you won't believe, in Veshti, there will be one Shankam Chakram. Why? I'm a Vaishnava. Oh, prove that through your living, not through your veshti. Because that Shankam Chakram reaches our feet. Though they will give shawls, in that there will be Ashtakshara Mantram written. And you'll put that over your under torso of your body. Is that right? Pranavam, should it be there? Then they'll say it's bhakti. Don't call this bhakti. Keep your puja room simple. Even now, the greatest mother of all, Golu will come. Golu is one nice way to showcase your culture, educate your children, come up with creative things. My suggestion again is, with whatever vigrahams you have, keep that Golu. I don't know which, some mommy or mama has said, every year one idol should be brought. I have to find that mama now, because there is no Rishi Vakyam. Okay. They have said, right, you have to buy every year one. But instead of one, it will become Ashtalakshmi. Dashavataram, Saptamatrikas, Garuda Seva. Now, all these vigrahams in Sanatana Dharma have one Jivanadi in it. It is not some plaster of Paris. It is vigraham. After your times, will your children keep them? Where will they come? See, I've told this many times, people don't listen. I get mails. Sir, we are living in the US, we have come down to Chennai. My father passed away recently. My mother passed away 5 years back. She left one beautiful Kashi Malai and Ramayanam book. Kashi Malai we have taken, you take the Ramayana book. Every day, see how many Ramayanams can I have? 1 or 2 I can take. The same case will happen with your Golu Bommai 30 years later. Imagine, there will be a day when all of us will die. We are not permanent people here. One day we have to die. Who is going to take care of those idols? So always think of the future and then work on the present. Giving vigrahams, printing God's photo on the tambulam bag, making invitation one book. Today, it is not an invitation, it is a book. First page there will be Uppaliyappan, second page Ranganatha. Send it digitally. See, make use of technology. The moment, see, we can't tear those invitations. Calendars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will be below. First half will be a big Ranganatha's picture. After that 1 year, where will you keep that calendar? Don't think I'm trying to degrade or denigrate anybody. Please don't mistake me. I'm just telling you, as much as we listen to Bhagavatam, our bhakti levels should rise. This year I have learned 1000 slokas of Paduka Sahasram. I have listened to 500 hours of Ramayanam. That should be our benchmark. I have accumulated 50 vigrahams, 40 photos. Is this our thing? Where is the knowledge coming to us? See, from being a Jnana Mimamsa Upasaka in Sanatana Dharma, we have gone into this karma and lot of these things. Rishis used to contemplate. As age progresses, you should, you contemplate on the Lord's qualities, listen to Narayaniyam, listen to lectures. Tears will roll down. At times when you read Ramayanam, you won't even realize tears will roll down when Bharata talks to Rama. That is bhakti, accumulating photos, giving photos. Truly, this Golu, if you want to make one good point, one statement, do not gift anything which has a portrait of the Lord to anybody. Make it a point. I'll be one step forward. Everybody is reasonably well off now. What should we gift them? We don't have to give anything. Just give 4 badam pieces and say, eat. You will get some good power. Ho gaya. That's all. Done. Now everybody is in a competition. What better to give? Why competition all this? Have a competition. I have learned 1000 verses of Narayaniyam this year. Have that competition. This year I have learned 1000 verses. Have that competition. I have completed 50 verses today. I have by-hearted 10 verses tomorrow. That is bhakti. Giving these idols will not serve. Now let me come back to this. So Dhruva did not know how the Lord will look because his mother did not keep Golu. So when the Lord appeared, how did he sense that this is the Lord whom I am meditating upon? The Lord will not say, hey Dhruva, I am Vishnu, 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 Vishnu. The Lord won't come announcing. He won't have that badge also. I am Vishnu. So how will Dhruva know? When the Lord appeared, Dhruva had a feeling which he had never felt before. When he looked at the countenance of the Lord, it looked as if the craters on the surface of the moon, which is the Kalankam, was taken away. A spotless, a blemishless face with the nose of a sesame flower, with the lips that are akin to the coral paste which have been applied on either sides, with teeth that glisten like the constellation of stars, with ears that have Makara Kundalam. Bhattadri says, Prollasat Gandapali Vyalolat Karnapashanchita Makaramani Kundala Dvandva Deepram Unmila Dantapankti Spuratarunatara Bimbadarantaha. Every word of Narayaniam needs 1 million. Beautiful. Prollasat Gandapali, his cheeks were so chubby, they looked like emerald mirrors. And they reflected the gem-studded Makara Kundalam of his ears, and through that shine, between that, the white teeth were seen. So he looked so beautiful. Twaddarshana, when the Lord appeared, he had a Vakshasthalam, which had a Kaustubam, Srivatsankam Ghanashyamam. He had a thin waist with a navel. And that navel had the dust of a lotus flower. Nalikena Spurita Rajasa Vedhaso Nirmimana Ramyavarta Dyuti Sahacharim Ranganathasya Nabihi, says Vedanta Deshika. He says, how can you spot Parabrahmam or Paramatma? The one whose navel will have the pollen of a lotus flower. Nalikena Spurita Rajasa Vedhaso Nirmimana. How is the Lord's hair? See, you have to describe part by part, right? Varnanam. Vedanta Deshika says, how beautiful is the Lord's hair? See, Vedanta Deshika, if you have known this Acharya's name, he lived in Kanchipuram in 1268. Then after a span of about 20 years, he went to Tiruvahindrapuram near Kadalur for seeking solace. Then he returned to Kanchi. Kanchi was a busy city. Nagareshu Kanchi. Then there was an SOS for him, asking him to come to Srirangam. So from Pallavadesham, Tondai Mandalam, he is going to Chola Desham. Cholas are now very famous, or they have been made famous. So Chola Desham he has to go. See, I am sure every province has its own set of culture. I am not that aware, I am sure there are youngsters. Is there a difference between the English that you speak in the East Coast, Midwest, and there is a difference? Like how we have Kongu Tamil, Madurai Tamil, Madras Tamil. Likewise, in Karnataka, Kannadalli ಹೇಳುವಾಗ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಕನ್ನಡ ಒಂದಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಕೋಸ್ಟಲ್ ಕನ್ನಡ, ನಾವು ಮಂಗಳೂರು, ಉಡುಪಿ ಆ ಕಡೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕನ್ನಡ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಶಿವಮೊಗ್ಗ, ಹುಬ್ಬಳ್ಳಿ, ಧಾರವಾಡ, ದಾವಣಗೆರೆ ಆ ಕಡೆ ಒಂದು ಕನ್ನಡ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೇಮ್ ವೇಸ್ ತೆಲುಗು, ತೆಲಂಗಾಣ ತೆಲುಗು, ರಾಯಲ್ ಸೀಮಾ ತೆಲುಗು, ಈಸ್ಟ್ ಗೋದಾವರಿ ತೆಲುಗು. So there are dialects. Similarly, from Tondai Mandalam, Pallavadesham, Vedanta Deshika is shifting his family to Chola Desham, which is Srirangam, where Kaveri flows. Kaveri waters have a slightly higher proportion of dissolved gold in them, 0.002%. That is why when the sun's rays shine, it was a belief that it reflects gold more. Since it reflects gold more, Ponni she is called. Ponni, she is called Kanaka Sarit. Kanaka Sarit means it has got Kanakam. But why can't we take the gold out of it? You have to spend a lot of technology techniques to separate the gold from it. So it is not worth. So he came to the banks of river Kaveri in Srirangam. He settled. He had one son called Kumara Varada. While he was at the age of 49 with his wife Kanakavalli or Tirumangai, he settled. Every day he would ask, how are the neighbors here in Srirangam? Because you have gone to a new neighborhood, how are the people? So his wife used to say, very good people. Anybody from Srirangam here? Very good people they are. So Srirangam people are very good, but she said, I am not able to understand the sarcasm that they are trying to speak. Very good people, she says. Srirangam people are very good. See, I will give you my own experience. When I go to Sri Rangam for lectures, wonderful people, they'll immediately say, please come and stay in our house. Then I used to stay in an aged couple's house. Very loving to me, very caring. After my lecture was over and my dinner, I had to leave to the station. So I got out of their house and walked till the gate. That time the aged people came along with me and they said bye. I said, you don't have to strain yourself getting out of the house. I will lock the gate and go. Ingyadu thirumbi vanduttelna. But they said in a very jovial way. So this is now Vedanta Deshika then realized that you need certain tactics to move with the people of Chola Desham. Sri Rangam, Karur, Trichy, Tanjavur, Kumbhakonam, Mayavaram, you need that extra tactic to deal with such people. So that is why he says, while describing the hair of Ranganatha, it seems it is rolled without rollers. They are curly. How curly are Ranganatha's hair locks? He says, when you provoke the lady of Srirangam, she will get angry and she will hit you back with words which will take some time for you to decipher. So the words will be as curly as Ranganatha's hair. Kupyat choli vachana kutilaihi kuntalaihi sishtamule. Kupyat choli, not even chola. Mama is good. Kupyat choli vachana kutilaihi kuntalaihi sishtamule. So Dhruva saw that Lord with such beautiful hair tresses, champaka nose, kambugrivam, shankham. It is believed there is a conch here. Vakshasthalam. Twaddarshana pramadabhara tarangitam tam drigbhyam nimagnamiva rupa rasayanete tushtushamanam avagamya kapola deshe. The boy was so excited to see the Lord. He wanted to speak a lot of things, but all he was choked with emotions. So all his emotions came till here. He couldn't speak. There were only tears rolling down the cheeks of the Lord, of the boy, because he was sensing the paternal, fatherly affection in the Lord's eye glances. That is when the Lord who was cognizant of the boy's inhibition, took the shankham and kept it on his lap, and then with the palm that held the shankham touched the boy's cheek. Kapola deshe. The moment he touched, the boy started crying. And all he did was a stuti called Dhruva stuti. Sahasra Shirusha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat Sarvavyapi Bhuvasparshat Atyatishthad Dashangulam Sarvatmakosi Sarvesha Sarvabhuta Sthito Yataha Kathayami Tatakim Te Sarvam Vetsi Hrudi Sthitam. He held a boy on his lap, hugged him and said, were you aspiring for this, my dear boy? The boy couldn't speak then. He said, my father hurt me, my mother. Don't even worry, I am always there for you. That is why, what does this incident state? See, we are all born. One day we will all die. So will our parents. Now, till the parents are living, probably we may not even understand the greatness that they have. The moment they are gone, we won't have any person to even convey our daily activities and anguishes. That is when you will realize the greatness of your parent. There is someone to pick your call at any point during the day. And that too, Indian parent they will pick. They will even fund the child's education all throughout. That is the greatness of a Desi parent. Correct? They won't let their child take loan. They won't let their child go. So the children should also imbibe those values. You cannot take the best of both worlds. My father should fund my education, but they should not ask me any question. That is taking the best of both worlds. If you don't want the parents to ask you a question, then you have to fund your own education. So you should, whatever is right in the Western civilization, follow it. Whatever is right in the Eastern civilization, follow it. Be a beautiful melange of both the civilizations. So this little boy was extremely enamored with the Lord's beauty. Then the Lord said, whenever you want such kisses and love, think of me, I am always there. While leaving, he said, I want to give you a return gift. What was the return gift from now on? When someone talks of memory, you have to think of somebody, good memory, then they will remember you, Dhruva. So from then on, Smriti, which is remembrance, was called by the boy's name. In Sanskritam, good memory is called Dhruva Smriti. Good memory. So this boy was given that particular varam. There are many things after that. Now let's go to Prithu Charithram. In Prithu Charithram, in the clan, in that lineage of Dhruva was a Raja called Vena, useless king. He was killed by the citizens, and then he had a son called Prithu. During Prithu's time, there was not much of prosperity in that region. That is when Prithu prayed to Mother Earth, who appeared in the form, who said to have appeared in the form of a Pashu. And then he churned out the best of the dairy products from her, because some of the health problems are caused by dairy. That is why we have A1 milk, A2 milk, grass-fed milk, 0.2% milk, 3% milk, no milk, then cashew milk, almond milk, soya milk. So he got the best of dairy products, organic, because what is special about organic? It will be priced more. So, Vikhyata Pruthuriti Tapasopadishtai Sutadyai Parinuta Bhava Bhuri Viryaha Venartya Kabalita Sampadam Dharitrim Akrantam Nijadhanusha Samamakarshi. So, Prithu, he churned out the best of wealth from the cow. Since Mother Earth in the form of a cow was churned, she gave the best to Prithu. She is called Prithuvi. Since in the clan of Prithuvi came Pritha, that is Kunti. She was called Pritha. Since Arjuna was the son of Pritha, he was called Partha. Since Krishna became the Sarathi to Partha, so he became Pachu. Now, Partha, if you look at Arunagirinatha, one of the greatest Tamil poets, he had great bhakti towards Kartikeya Swami, Muruga, Shanmuka, Sharavana. It is Sharavana, not Saravana. It is Sharavana. Vanam means forest. It had Sharam, many arrow-like weeds. Since this boy was born there, he is called Sharavana, not Saravana. It is Sharavana. So Sharavana Kartikeya Guhaswami, in Tamil he is referred to as Sendil Andavan. So Arunagirinatha had immense love for Kartikeya Swami, and he sang great verses in Tamil. Together that compendium is called as Tiruppugal. But if you are a poet, you need lot of content to sing. So every now and then he'll say Kartikeya was born to Shiva, he has 6 faces, so many hands, he's Shanmukha, he married Valli, he married Devasena, and so on. But he needs more content, then only you can create poetry. So if you look at Tiruppugal and separate verses that determine Ramayanam and Mahabharatam, you will get one entire book, Tiruppugadil Ramayanam, Tiruppugadil Mahabharatam. Beautiful verses you will get. Arunagirinatha's Tamil and his creativity needs to be appreciated. See, he gives something very interesting in Ramayanam. While describing Ramacharithram in Tiruppugal, he says Rama was walking, and then there is a debate whether it was Rama's, the feet that emanated from, the dust that emanated from his feet which fell onto a stone-like person called Ahalya, and Ahalya turned gracious from then. So when this dust comes and falls, or some say his foot touched that stone, Sri Rama Padamani Kripa Chalune Chittani Kirave. So whether his feet touched or dust came. Arunagirinatha says, Ahalya brought out the greatness of Rama. How? Arunagirinatha says, let's take gold. This is gold. Okay. Now, this is worth, say, $500 or $1,000 US dollars. I am going to some pawnbroker and times are bad, I want to get some money by pawning this jewelry. What will the pawnbroker do? Bharat Lal, Hemant Lal, what will he do? What will he do? Huh? He'll just take the gold and give the money? What will he do? He will check that by rubbing it on a stone. This is $1,000. How much worth is that stone? $5 உங்களுக்காக 5 ஒரு தரம், 5 2 தரம், 5 3 தரம். So $5 stone is giving the value of $1,000 chain. So how will you know the greatness of gold like feet of Rama? Because it rubbed on Ahalya stone. So she proved the greatness of Rama's golden feet, says Arunagirinatha. Beautiful verses he'll give. In his first Tiruppugal, Muttai Tarupatti Tirunagayatti Kirishakti Charavana Mutti Kuruvittu Kurubarayana Vodum Mukkat Paramarku Churudin Marpattadu Karpittiruvaru Muppattu Muvarkat Tamararumadi Pena Pattu Talabotta Kanadodu Votrai Kiremattai Poruduru Patta Padavattatiriliravaaga பத்தற்கிரதத்தை கடவிய பச்சை புயல் மெச்சு தகு பொருள் பக்ஷத்தொடு ரட்சித்தருள்வது முருநாளே. பத்தற்கு இரதத்தை கடவிய, பத்தற்கு இரதத்தை, பத்தர் in Tamil is பார்த்தன், பார்த்தனுக்கு இரதத்தை கடவிய. For Partha, the one who pulled the இரதத்தை, ரதத்தை, chariot, கடவிய பச்சை புயல் மெச்சு தகு பொருள். The one who is loved by the பச்சை புயல். Pachai Puyal means the one who is hued like an emerald, Vishnu. Pachai Puyal Mechu, for him he was happy. Tagu Porul, Pakshattodu Rakshittarulvadu Murunale. So this Partha Shabdam is invoked through Prithu, even by Arunagirinatha, Pattar. So Prithu is regarded as an Amshavatar of Vishnu. He has Shankha Chakra Rekha and he ruled this Prithvi. This is Prithu Charithram. So we have seen so many Charitrams today. Kapilopadesham, Daksha Yajnam, Dhruva Charithram, Prithu Charithram. Now I'll tell you one more Charithram. We spoke about Swayambhuva Manu. How many sons he had? 2. One. What was one son's name? Uttanapada. The other son's name is Priyavrata. In the clan of Priyavrata came a Raja called Agnidhra and Nabhi. They performed a yajnam called Pravargyam. And then this Nabhi, through his wife Meru Devi, they performed a yagam and the Lord's Amshavataram was born to them. I told you partial manifestation. Remember one hour back during Kapilavatam I said, because if I don't tell this, people will look as if they have never heard. என்னது அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி. So I should tell them, இப்பதான் கேட்டேன். That much short term memory loss should not be there. So Nabhipriyayam Athameru Devyam. So this Nabhi and Meru had the partial manifestation of the Lord born. He was called Rishabha. This Rishabha was a very devout king, good king. Through his yogic power, he was able to bring a lot of wellness to his subjects. He became the point of jealousy for Indra. So Indra did not allow precipitation, no rains to happen on Jatabharathan, which was ruled by Rishabha. But Rishabha, through his yogic power, was able to artificial clouding and all we call, right, seeding. So he was able to bring rains to his country. Now Indra felt defeated and he said, I am very short in front of you for all your great achievements. I am giving my daughter Jayanti in marriage to you. So this Rishabha and Jayanti had many sons. The eldest of them was called Bharata. After giving away the kingdom of the administrative rights to his son, Rishabha left his kingdom. And this Rishabha, while living in the kingdom, had another wife. Through him, they had a son called Bahubali. Ain't saridi, mana prabhasa, yauradi. This was a different Bahubali. This Bahubali was not interested in living a married life. He left his father's kingdom and came and settled in the southern part of Karnataka and performed a yoga called as Kayotsargam. This Bahubali was revered by the locals by the name Gomatha. That is why you have a beautiful statue erect in Shravanabelagula called as Gomatheshwara. That is Bahubali. Bahubali alias Gomatheshwara. Why alias? There is another name. See, I don't know how many of you can understand basic Tamil. In the Sri Vaishnava community, there is an interesting way of presenting the marriage invitation. On one side, it will be bright yellow, and the other side, it will be bright pink. Have you seen that invitation? Nobody will read that invitation. I will read it out for you. Srimad Vedamarga Pratishthapanacharyarai Shanta Shamadamadi Asankheya Kalyana Gunangal Sampurnarai Elundarulirukka Koodiya Swamiyin Sannidhiyil Adiyen Thalum Tadakkayum Kuppichayum Vijñapanam Ubhaya Kushalopari Kshemam. These are the first 4 lines. Then left hand side, Ayyampettai Rajagopala Ayyangarin Pautranum Valayapettai Ramacharyarin Pautranum Adiyenuடைய கனிஷ்ட குமாரனுமான அபர்யாப்தாமிருதன் என்கின்ற நிதினை திருவிடைமருதூர் நாராயண ஐயரின் பௌத்ரியும் உப்பிளையப்பன் கோயில் வலையப்பேட்டை சுவாமியின் புத்திரியும் அடியேனுடைய குமாரத்தியுமான அபித குச்சாம்பாள் என்கின்ற நிஷாவிற்கு. We will know only Nisha and Nitin. We won't know Apita Kuchambal. Even Nisha will not know Apita Kuchambal. Oh, it's a pair. So, Bahubali alias Gomateshwara. This is the second wife's son. The first wife's son was Bharata. The rights were given to him to rule. And Rishabha came to the forest. From Uttar Pradesh to Bihar, through Madhya Pradesh, through Gujarat, he started preaching a set of principles like an Avadhuta sannyasi. Avadhuta means they won't have clothes. So as he came through Maharashtra, he again settled in the southern part of Karnataka Pradesham. And he lived the life like that of a python, not as a python, like a python, which means python will not go anywhere seeking food. If something comes, it will eat. So he lived a very simple life and eventually he got burnt in the forest fire. Shayuvratam Gomrgakakacharyam Chiram Charannapya Param Swarupam Davahritangaha Kutakachaletvam. Then he was burnt in the forest in Kutakachalam. What is Kutakachalam? Kurg, Kodagu. Now he is a partial manifestation of the Lord. What's his name? Rishabha. This Rishabha is regarded as the first Tirthankara in Jainism. So we have those 24 Tirthankaras, the 24th is Mahavira, right? Mahavira is in the 6th century BCE. So the first Tirthankara was before Rama. So he is called as Rishabha or Rishabhanatha. You will have many Jain friends who will say Rishab Jewelers, Rishab. They will be called by a name called Arihanta, means one who knows everything. So this was the start of Jainism, Shramana movement. How now you may say, sir, आप बोल रहे हो कि वो विष्णु का अवतार है. आपको कैसे पता है कि वो विष्णु का अवतार है? Now you go to a Jain temple. There are many temples in Dilwara, in Mount Abu. 11th to 15th century it was constructed. I'll give you a list of Jain temples. You go there. If you go to Rishabhanatha Sannidhi, there will be a Srivatsam and Kaustubam on his chest. So the Adi Purana in Jainism also mentions this. That is why they have 16 signs. That is all beyond the scope of this lecture. It is called Shadurma Kalpikam, and then there are 16 signs in their dream where Mahalakshmi plays a role. So slowly, though the principles of Jainism were tangential to Sanatana Dharma, over a period of time they were integrated in Sanatana Dharma. So Amit Shah is also a part. So the Jainism came into Sanatana Dharma fold. So this is the beginning of Jainism. Now for Buddhism, I'll tell you, this doesn't come in Bhagavatam, since I've spoken of Jainism. In Buddhism, we get across Buddha. What is that Buddha? Buddha is, we think, is 5th century BCE. That is one of the Buddhas. There are 5 Buddhas in Buddhism. The earliest Buddha lived during and some before the times of Rama. How in Ramayanam, in Ayodhya Kandam, when Rama talks to Jabali, he says Buddhyartham. He invokes Buddha of those times. Buddha is the title, not the name. The Buddha, recent Buddha is Siddhartha or Gautama. So people who preached certain set of principles called Kshanikavadam, Sarvam Kshanikam Kshanikam, Sarvam Lakshanam Lakshanam, Sarvam Dukkham Dukkham, Sarvam Shunyam Shunyam, these 4 principles were called Buddha. So the Buddha that we know of the fifth Buddha, 5th century BCE Buddha, is referred to in Ashvaghosha's Buddha Charithram as the one who had a beautiful face, tonsured head, big smile, large lotus-like eyes, big tummy with a Ratnanabham, Ratnanabha Sulochanaha, Arko Vasajana Shringi, Jayanta Sarva Vijjayi, Suvarna Binduhu, Akshobhya Sarva Vagishwareshwaraha. These are the namas that describe Buddha. So this Buddha described in Ashvaghosha's Charithram is related to the laughing Buddha that you see. But no sir, he is very thin, very well made. That is Thai massage Buddha. That Buddha came later. The Ashvaghosha's Buddha Charithram describes this Buddha. That is where you have 4 schools of thought. So Buddhism is also that ancient. So Buddhism and Jainism with another group called Ajivikas came up a movement called Shramanam. So a lady who belonged to Shramanam was called Shramani. So in Ramayanam, Shabari is described by Valmiki as a Shramani. That is why in Jainism, to attain moksha, there was a belief that you have to fall into fire. That is why after giving the fruits to Rama, she goes and falls into fire. So it is connected there. Now let's go to this Charithram. I told you, Rishabhanatha had many children. The eldest was called? Very good. This Bharata is whom after which the continent is called Bharatam. No sir. We have heard that Dushyanta's son Bharata, why it is called Bharatam. I would be happy. But sadly, that is not the case. In Vishnu Puranam, it is clearly mentioned this Bharata is the root cause for the place being called Bharatam. There are 4 Bharatas. One, this Bharata. Second is another Bharata who was the son of Dushyanta. He is called Dushyanti in Shatapatha Brahmanam, which is a part of Shukla Yajurvedam. Third is another Bharata called Rama's younger brother Bharata. Fourth is the Bharata who gave us Natya Shastram, Bharata Muni. So, but all 4 Bharatas were great. Let's listen about this Bharata. Rishabhanatha's son Bharata, after ruling the kingdom quite well, he gave away the rights to his children and he left his kingdom and went to the forest. Where did he go? To the slopes of river Shalagrama Kshetram in Nepal, by the banks of river Ghandaki. Bharatas samahipalaha Shalagrame vasatkila yoga yuktaha samadhaya vasudeve sadamanaha. He went there. And then he started having jata. Itham dhrita bhagavata yene yajina vasa sanuvasana bhishekadraka pisha kutila jata kalapena chavirochamanaha Suryarcha Bhagavantam Hiranmayam Purushamujjihane Surya Mandale Abhyupatishtante Dumhovacha. He started meditating upon the Lord in the Madhyam, in the middle of Surya Mandalam, and meditating on him. This Bharata. 24 hours he dedicated himself to meditation. One day, apparently when he opened his eyes, he saw a pregnant doe being chased by a tiger. As this pregnant doe trembled in fear, tried to cross one boulder from another, where Ghandaki was flowing below, the belly of this doe hit on the boulder and the water broke and the little deer fell. Now this deer, mother doe that jumped, managed to escape, and tiger started chasing. Don't ask me what happened after that, that I don't know. Now this baby fell onto the waters and incidentally it fell on a floating leaf. Bharata, who was witness to this, couldn't let the little one die. He jumped into the waters. What is that? Michael Phelps? Like Michael Phelps, Vedant Madhavan, he jumped. And then he got this little child, this little deer, and nourished. Now, you cannot just keep the deer like that. It will need milk. So he got that A2 milk, put that in a feeding bottle and started giving this little one. Slowly, as days progressed, his 24-hour meditation got reduced to half, 12 hours. Because he has to take care of the little one. Then the deer has to go to kindergarten, it has to go to other classes. It has to learn tabla, it has to learn mridangam. It has to learn music, it has to dance, Arangetram has to be performed. What is Arangetram? It is marriage minus Mappillai. So all this has to happen. So his 12-hour meditation came down to 2 hours. See, from 24 he became 2. Now he was thinking of the deer, but the deer matured and went into the forest and it started playing with his friends. It was a sophomore, it went to prom. Now this father was thinking of the deer. Palutti valatta kili, palam koduthu paatha kili, naan valatta pachai kili, naalai varum kacherikku. So this little one went. Now this Bharata was in his last moments of his life. While the Jivatma of Bharata was to depart from his body, he was thinking of the little deer. I mentioned about 1 hour 43 minutes back. I told you about Tatkratu Nyayam and the question what Bhuma Devi asked to Varaha, thereby resulting in Charama Shlokam. If you are a Bhakti Yoga Nishta, you have to think of the Dhamam and Vaikuntham to get moksha. But he didn't think, he thought of the deer. So he became the deer. So that deer was born in the Kalanjara Parvatam in Uttara Pradesh. That was his next Janma. But the greatness lies here. Shastram says that 1 out of 1,00,000 souls, Jivatmas, will have clear memory of their past lives. 1 out of 1,00,000. I am not one. I don't know how many are there here. I don't remember what I had yesterday to eat. Forget last Janma. So such people are referred to by the name Jati Smaraha. Remember this word, this is a very important word. Atmanodhigata jnano devadini mahamune sarva bhutanya bhedena sadadarsha tadatmanaha sammanana paramhani yogardhe kurute yataha janena vamato yogi yoga siddhim cha vindati. He was able to remember the past. So such people are called Jati Smaraha. There is a word. You have to remember, I'll ask again. On day number 5 I will ask. Jati Smaraha, people who can remember the past lives. Whether the Western world accepts it or not, it accepts in a different way. What is that great author? Dr. Weiss. One world, many masters. Brian Weiss. So that you read the book. He's a great psychiatrist who through hypnosis says the life account of various patients he has seen in the West. One of them had memories of their past lives and they spoke in that language, and he says there are civilizations that believe in past births and I see proof to it, he says. So that book is very interesting. Now, this deer was able to remember the past life. So from Kalanjara Parvatam it went to Shalagramam, went to the same ashramam and it started meditating. Slowly over a period of time, the Jivatma from the deer's body again departed and went to the life of a Brahmana. Now it went to the Brahmana's family, and then that is when, as this Brahmana grew, he grew with a very, very detached mindset. He would never be attached to the materialistic pleasures. You know, when a cake is placed for a birthday, wow, and all, he won't say. He'll say, why cake? I don't want this. Very detached. So, he won't throw those expressions. He will never give those expressions that we want. Right? So, bereft of all of this, people thought this man is mad. Right? So, they said he moves like any inanimate object. So, he was called Jada. But since he was called by the name Bharata in 2 lives before that, both of them got linked. He was called Jatabharathan. Jatabharathan left his family. He walked into the forest. One day, he was picked by a few attendants of Bhadrakali. They will do Narabali, human bali, like cannibals. So while he was about to be guillotined before Kali, Kali appeared and said, don't do, he's a great bhakta, great jnani, I will kill you people, leave him. So he was left into the forest. Looking at his stature, see, though he didn't eat that much, he was well built. See, I am like that. I don't eat much, but when I look at others eat, I will put on weight. That is my body constitution. Prarabdha karma is like that. So a person who's eating, he will be thin. When I look at him eating, I will put on weight. So he was well built. So looking at him being well built, the attendants of a Raja called Rahuguna Maharaja from a Pradesham called Sindhu Sauviram. Sindhu Sauviram, Sindh is the lower part of Pakistan where Karachi is there. That is called Sindh region. That is why people who lived there were technically called Sindhis. During partition, most of them came to Bharatadesham, some went to the Middle East. The Sindha Pradesham is not with us, but we are singing Punjab, Sindh, Sindh, Gujarat, Maratha. So Sindh is not with us. But the Sindh is famous for horses in those days. During the times of Ramayanam and Bharatam, horses used to be nurtured, nourished and trained there for Yuddham. So horses that were imported from Sindha Pradesham were called Saindhavam. Similarly, the horses from the upper part of Pakistan and Afghanistan, that was called Kekeya Pradesham. And the kings who were deployed in this activity were given a surname called Ashwapati. That is why in Vaishvanaradhikaranam in Chandogya Upanishad, you get this name, Ashwapati. Ashwa means horse. Since they were adept in horses, Ashwapati. Shvakaram is not there in Persian language, so it will be replaced with Fa. So Ashwa became Afgha in that region. So this Sindhu and Sauvira Pradesham was ruled by a king called Rahuguna Maharaja, and he had some doubts about Jivatma and body. So he wanted to get them clarified under the blessings of Kapilashramam, which is in Bengal. So while he was crossing Bharatadesham through Ikshumati Nadi in Kurukshetra, that is when one of the attendants, he had vertigo problem and went away. So they wanted one attendant. So the remaining palanquin carriers found Jatabharathan. They said, you are well developed, well stout, suffering from good health, come. So they let him carry the palanquin. But when Jatabharathan saw the ants go on the floor, he thought, I should not trouble them, and jumped. Because why should I press them? As he jumped 6.4 Richter scale, even the palanquin shake. Now when Rahuguna Maharaja peeped outside and said, hey you man, why are you jumping like this? Huh? You seem to be well developed. You are very well built. Huh? You are doing such childlike acts. Aren't you knowledgeable? He asked. That is when this palanquin carrier Jatabharatha said, I am neither fat nor thin. I am neither learned nor less learned. Now, Rahuguna Maharaja thought, he is the one who will answer my questions. Because in Vedanta, if you say, I slept well, it doesn't mean you slept well. It means your body slept well, but your eye did not sleep well. Because if you have slept well, how do you know that I slept well? Somebody else has to say, you have slept. How will you know you have slept well? So that what has slept is the body and not the Atma. So he gave all the Atma Jnanam to Rahuguna Maharaja. This beautiful Sambhashanam is called Jatabharata Sambhashanam with Rahuguna Maharaja, where he gives Atma Jnanam to Jatabharata. Beautiful conversation. Now, finally, comes the beautiful Charithram, where there was this man called Ajamila. Ajamila lived in a city called Kanyakubjam. Kanyakubjam is current day called Kanauj in Uttar Pradesh. Ajamila was not interested in scriptures, following the rules. See, first of all, we should get rid of this myth that in the earlier days everyone was following Shastra. No. There will be outliers to Shastram at every point in time. Just that those people's Charithram will not come mentioned in our Puranas. There was this Ajamila. Ajamila had many children. The last child, who was a son, was given the name Narayana. See, I'm sure many elderly people here will know. There were many families in those days, 7 daughters, 4 sons, 3 sons. So the last daughter will be called Mangalam. She would have brought the end to that incessant production process. So that last one will be called Mangalam, Mangala, Mangal, or Shubham. Pavamana Sutudu. Finally it got over. So this boy was called Narayana. See, Narayana has one interpretation. Naranam ayanam yasya saha. The one who is a substratum to Nara. Chetana is his body, is one artham. The other simple meaning to Narayana is that which floats on water. It's called Narayana. If you have gone to Kathmandu, there is a temple called Jalanarayana, Neer Narayana Swami. He'll float, anything that floats. So you have heard of Urad Dal? Urad Dal, Uluthambarpu, Uddin Bele. So you have to grind that well. Yogambal Sundar says, and so does Shanta Patti, and so does Fudzi, and then where are you? Mummy? Mallika Mami, long, she's the progenitor of all the cooks. Mallika Mami, Hebbar's Kitchen, Hema Subramanyam, Srirangam Radu, apra vera yaru? Tell me some. Chitra Murali, Vijay Setupathi's friend. Correct? Next. Who else? Rakesh Raghunathan. Idukalla evlo badil varudhu parunga. Perumala patti ketta. Who is Jati Smaraha? There will be dead silence here. So all of them suggest. Vintage but. Even Yannama Kodikaram Paranga, Yapudevaram Paranga. The beauty is he will add loads of ghee and oil, but he will not eat. He will show us the path to Vaikuntham. So, after grinding urad dal into a nice batter, these people suggest that you have to keep it in the fridge. Then next day you have to fry the bada. Then you will have to take that bada and let them float on buttermilk. Then you have to take that little curd and some green chilies and coconut and then grind and then add it. What is it? Tair vada. And over that you have to put some bundi. Pattappa generally does that. This is called tair vada. It is good, no? Ayurveda says if you have tair vada, your memory will come down. Adukku dhaan ithanadi sonna. So that is why in Veda Pathashalas in those days, 1 month before the Veda Dhyayanam or Veda Pariksha, they will not give Tair Vadai. Because Tair Vadai will generally bring that memory down. Not drastically. You will know it. As you keep having Tair Vadas, you will not remember Jati Smaraha. So, the point here is, when my grandmother used to make vadas and then she used to put it in buttermilk, my grandfather used to say, this is Narayana. Why? Because it floats in water. Anything that floats is Narayana. Then there is another specific meaning, Naranam ayanam yasya saha. So this was the name given to his last son. Ajamila was a man of very low character. No aradhana kramam, no kriya kramam. When the Jivatma was about to leave his body and it left, it attained a Sukshma Shariram and Pasha, noose was thrown on him by Yama. Yama will have one rope, it is called Pasham. Meena lochani pashamochani manini kadamba vanavasini meenakshi. That Pasham was thrown. 2 men with canine teeth, that Onida advertisement haunts. They came. Come, you man! They pulled Ajamila. Ajamila knew he was completely worth this treatment. That time, 2 other men with beautiful countenance, dress, and they were akin to the Lord, they said, where are you taking him? He should be coming to Vaikuntham, not to Narakam. Ajamila said, sir, sorry sir, you have mistaken. I have done all activities which are completely qualified for Narakam. You have mistaken. I am Ajamil. Ye kya bol rahe hain aap? So that is when the Vishnu Duta said, no, you have done something good. Ajamila said, chanceless. I have not done even one good activity in my life. No, while your Atma was about to leave the mortal body, you said Narayana. That was my son's name. But for us, as per our constitution, even if you inadvertently take the name of the Lord, it is treated as punyam. So, Ajamila then wondered, I have made a grave mistake by not engaging in internalizing activities, spiritual activities while I lived. Here comes a pertinent question. What name do we give to our children? Because everybody today, that was one big game. Sir, the name should be very unique. Name need not be unique. The child should be unique. The pair unique. So, they will, many mails, I've stopped replying. Sir, we are going to get a child. Please tell some name in ki, ku, ka, ko, kam, kaha. How will I know? You choose. And if I invariably give that name, they'll say, no, it is a very old name. And pudu name na enna vekkradhu? Dhanush. Pata pudikadu, paka paka pudikkum. So, what name to give? See, parents and grandparents you should not come to a third person asking for a name. Because some traditional cult gurus and all, they will give a name. Oh, Guruji diye hai naam. No, I am no Guruji. You should not ask for names. Choose a good name. See, but I'll tell you, I have one experience. When I went to Bombay, one of the families hosted me, and then that host family, they introduced their grandchildren. The grandson was called Kim. He looked Indian, not even Korean. So I thought he must be from North Korea, Kim La. But I didn't say anything because, it's not right to make fun. I came home. Next day, I had a lecture in Bangalore at Bharati Vidya Bhavan. The topic was Vishnu Sahasranamam. I opened the book. When I flipped the pages, the page that came was Kim. Kime, there it comes, right? Eko Naika Savaka. There is one Nama of the Lord called Kim. And even there is a theory by some research scholars how the name Kim landed in Korea, because one of the queens in the previous generations had traveled from India. So that is why that Kim name comes in all their families. So Kim is the name of the Lord. That is when the Lord was trying to tell, don't be arrogant, be humble. Because how many ever times we read Sahasranamam, we know only Madhavan, Keshavan and all these namas. There is one nama Kim. So if you want a unique name, take this now. Kim. Then there is a nama called Saha. Ekaha, Anekaha, Saha, Kaha, Kim. Keep the name Kaha, Saha. Simple, because people want short names. Apariyaptamritan. Sarva Praharana Yudhan. That passport authority will never issue. Now there is another problem here. Sir, you're saying Narayana Namam is good Namam, fine. But there is another theory amongst Astikas. We only will have such doubts. What is the doubt? Sir, I've been reciting Vishnu Sahasranamam from a young age. I don't know the nuances and the meaning. Without knowing the meaning, what is the use? Correct? Many of them ask. Without knowing the meaning, I'm reciting shlokas. Will that do good to me? Bhattatri says in a beautiful shloka. Now, vaccine was given. I don't know how effective or bad it was. That I won't discuss. At least, well, let's go to the other vaccines. When the child is a toddler, there are vaccines called MMR. Measles, mumps, rubella. So there are certain vaccine types. It can be attenuated, it can be live, we don't know. Now, while the child is being given, what will be your concern? Whether the child will cry, whether the child will have the pain, whether there will be allergy, this is the pain. Now the doctor who's administering the vaccine to the child, my dear child, this is a vial. It's an attenuated one. I'm going to use a disposable syringe. So I'm going to give this to you. So how it acts, the mechanism is this. Does the doctor explain all this to the child? No. Kuchu, prick, over, done. Take, next, come. The child doesn't know the meaning or the technique in the recombinant DNA technology that has given the vaccine. The child doesn't know. Will the vaccine work? The child doesn't know the meaning of the vaccine. Will the vaccine work? It will. Whether you know the meaning of the medicine or not, the medicine will work. Nobody will know. I am a diabetes type 2 patient, sir. I have been taking Glimipride plus metformin combination in the morning. How does it act? It is type 2 variety of molecules in diabetic drugs. Who knows? The doctor gives, he gives pioglitazone, you take. You won't even know the meaning. What is its half-life, shelf life, you won't know, but it will act. Similarly, the Nama of the Lord will still protect you even if you do not know the meaning of it. But that doesn't deter us from not knowing the meaning. Learn the meaning. But learning will come later. See, a child who's 2-3 years is taught how to brush. That time, oh my dear child, there's a layer of pathogens lying in your teeth. So you use the brush and then brush it up and down and up and down. You don't say all of this, brush. So the karma is taught first. Later when the child is in class 2, grade 2 or grade 3, the teacher says what is the benefit of brushing. Karma is first, jnanam comes later. Learn Sahasranamam first, eventually you will get the opportunity to learn the meaning. But some come with this unique debate topic, only if I know the meaning I will learn. That will never happen. Because even if I tell the meaning, you can't associate. I say, Mahavaraho Govinda, kya, come again, because he doesn't know Sahasranamam. You learn it first, because like a sponge you can absorb things when you're young. Learn the meaning later. Similarly, Narayana Namam will also protect. Whichever Nama will protect. But learn that first. So, now we have this Vokism, Vokeshwara, Vokanayaka, Vokapujita, Vokeshwara. They say, what is the use of learning this? What is the use of our existence? You tell me that. Our existence has got 10 benefits to earth. Nothing. What do we do now? Should we go and fall in Los Angeles forest fire? We can't. We have to live. Similarly, learning at a young age will help. So if I've got my young friends here, they may have one complaint. Parents are forcing us to learn Bhagavad Gita. Parents are forcing us to learn Vishnu Sahasranam. Learn it now. I know it is troublesome, tiresome to do. Learn. Later, 30 years later, like Dushyanth, somebody will come and explain in Dallas. That time you will appreciate, 40 years back there was one stout person who used to come and speak in Dallas. He used to say, so make preparations for your future. This is what the Eastern civilization has taught. Remember. Now, the more you remember, you're preventing your brain from rusting. 20 years before, I'm sure many of you can relate, I used to remember 100 telephone numbers. 20 years before, my grandmother used to retrieve data from me. I was the chat GPT that time. So she'll say, Chitti number chollu, I will tell. So remembering phone numbers, remembering numbers. Today, why should we remember? Why? No phone number, even our own phone number we won't know. That is why we also see many rising cases of losing memory. Why? We are not giving work to our brain, it will get rusted. How will you galvanize that rusting process? Only through giving work like this. So my earnest request is, let this Saptaham be a trigger. Take a Prabandham. For example, you want to take Bhagavatham. Bhagavatham is 18,000 verses, big. Take one small scale project, 1,000 verses. Take Paduka Sahasram. Take Narayaniyam. Take 1,000 verses. Every day, make it a point to learn one verse. One verse a day. Whenever you're working, you're driving, you're gymming, whatever activity you're doing, keep repeating that verse. That verse will stay in your mind. Don't think, no, age. I tell you, while I was living in Mumbai in Deshika Sabha, one mami, 73 years of age, for 4 years every day she used to come to the Sabha to learn Nalayara Divya Prabandham. At the end of the 4th year, she had memorized those 4,000 verses of the Alvar, so much so that when we had doubt, we used to ask, Mami, where does Pasuram come? She'll say, Onnambathu, Naladu Thiruvayamoli, Rendadu Pasuram, Swami. Age is not a deterrent. Learn Narayaniyam, Paduka Sahasram, because Ramayanam is 24,000 verses. That is tough. Till about 40 years back in Kanchipuram, there was a Tatacharya Swami who had memorized 1,25,000 verses of Mahabharatam by heart. So that is why for such people, memory will never fail. Till their end, they will remember. I don't know how many of you know even this kshetram called Malliyur. Have anybody of you heard Malliyur in Kerala? In Malliyur, there was a Swami. He just expired recently. He was one of the stalwarts in Bhagavatam. Malliyur Swami, Malliyur Tirumeni we call. He has done over 7,000 saptahams. Just the verses, not even explanation, reading. At about 80, he turned blind. Okay. He was still called, because the book used to be there, 18,000 verses, he'll just go on. He doesn't need a book. His eyes have failed. But he had memorized the 18,000 verses. That is the greatness the civilization had. That is why, despite many manuscripts and libraries being burnt between the 11th and the 17th centuries, the amount of collateral damage the civilization had to undergo, even then, all our granthas have survived, because they were not in these invaders who came, thought if we burn the manuscripts, the scriptures will be gone. They were oblivious of the fact that the content in the manuscripts were in the brains of our acharyas. They could retrieve the data as is. Today we get this auto-save mode in Microsoft. As you type, it gets saved. 15 years back, this feature was not that prominent. At times we used to type everything, then close, and then gone, the document. How will you retrieve it? So this auto-save mode was there in our acharya's brain. As they read, they will grasp. Ekasantagrahi. Once they see, it will get captured like a photograph in their memory. They just have to retrieve. So that is the civilization. Though we may have come to the Western country, it's a beautiful country, we have a lot of things to learn from this civilization too. Do not give up on certain gems that come from the Eastern civilization. Be a big, beautiful melange of both the civilizations. You carry good aspects of both civilizations. But we should not be, we'll choose what is comfortable to us. Don't do that. Even if it is painful, learn. Ajamilopakhyanam is a beautiful example of remembering the Lord and His name right from the young age, because Nama Sankirtanam will always give good punyam. That said, tomorrow is the most momentous day in my aspect, because though Rama, Krishna, they are beautiful. Krishna avataram is exquisite. There is one avataram which emerged out of the pillar, made a big impact and went back. Short time, big impact. Rama lived for many years. Thousands of questions we have on Rama. Thousands of questions on Krishna. Nobody questions Nisimha because he has got nails which will tear. You need such people who will give it back. Rama is very submissive, passive. So people know how to question him. Nisimha they know. Next to Hiranyakashipu will be us. So that is one avataram that stirs most of our thoughts. So tomorrow we will be doing Tripura Samharam, which describes the greatness of Shiva towards the last adhyayams of Saptamaskandam. Then we will be doing the first major part of Saptamaskandam, which is Nisimha avataram, and then some half of Gajendra Moksham. The remaining half the day after. So the day after is equally important. We have second half of Gajendra Moksham, Matsya avataram, Ambarisha Charithram, Kurma avataram, Vamana avataram, and Krishna Jananam. Fourth day evening, Krishna has to be born. Tomorrow in the mid half, Nisimha has to come. So this is the Paddhati of Srimad Bhagavata Saptaham. So I'm sure all of you have made time on a weekday. Extremely thankful. As I've been telling Dwaraka Swami, one thing that all of us feel bad is we could have given prasadam at the end. Because in most Saptahams we get prasadam. But since we have to respect the rules of this premises, we have not been able to give. I'll talk to him and we'll check if there is some other way out to help Bhagavatottamas. Because now we have to go home, make that dosa and idli and eat. That is the problem, right? So we'll find a way out. But I'm extremely thankful to all of you, especially to the youngsters, for sitting patiently for 2 hours and 20 minutes. 15 minutes less than PS2. There you have Aganaga, that lady Trisha, Aishwarya, all beautiful people. Here you have got this Ramraj Veshti Mama. You have to keep looking at me. See, with this karma also, you are sitting here so well for 2 hours. I'm extremely thankful. Just 5 more days to go. You have to tolerate me for 5 more days. Saptaham will come to a close by then. Kavitarkika Simhaya Kalyana Gunashaline Srimate Venkateshaya Vedanta Gurave Namaha Swasti Prajabhyah Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishaha Gobrahmane Bhyah Shubham Astu Nityam Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै श्रीमन्नारायणायेति समर्पयामि। कल्याणरूपाय कलौ जनानां कल्याणदात्रे करुणासुधाप्ते कंवादि दिव्यायुधसत्कराय वातालयाधीश नमो नमस्ते। नारायण 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 अनन्तरामाख्यमहि प्रणीतं स्तोत्रं पठेत्यस्तु नरस्त्रिकालं वातालयेतश्च कृपाफलेन लभेत सर्वाणि च मङ्गलानि। नारायण नमस्कारम्।